Hi, this is Ike from Groovy Entertainment. Today we have a book on record to play for you. Today, book is Little Indians for 1954. So let's get started.
Hello, boys and girls. This is Uncle Dave, and we're going to read a story together, Little Indian. When you hear this sound, it means to turn the page. Are you ready? Little Indian by Margaret Wise Brown. Pictures by Richard Scarry. Golden Press, New York. Turn the page. There was a great big Indian and his little Indian boy. Turn the page. The big Indian lived in a big wigwam, and the little Indian boy lived in a little wigwam. The big Indian had a big feather in his hair, and the little Indian boy had a little feather in his hair. Turn the page. The big Indian had a big raccoon who went everywhere with him. The little Indian boy had a little raccoon who went everywhere with him, and neither of them was afraid of bears. One day, the big Indian jumped in his big canoe, and the little Indian boy jumped in his little canoe, and they paddled way up the river. There they went fishing, and the big Indian caught a big fish, and after a while he paddled ashore. And the little Indian boy caught a little fish, and his raccoon grabbed it. So the little Indian caught another little fish, and after a while he paddled ashore. Then the big Indian rubbed two sticks together and lit a big fire. And the little Indian boy knelt down and lit a little fire. And the big Indian ate the little fish. But the little Indian boy ate the big fish because he was little and had to grow. About them they could hear the noise of the forest. Little winds whistling, squirrels chattering, bears shuffling about, birds flying by. Now turn the record over and turn the page, and we will continue our story. Did you remember to turn the page? Good. A great deep silence was all about them, when suddenly they heard chop, 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 chop. Someone was chopping down their trees. So off they started through the forest. They walked in Indian file, softly and silently, without disturbing a leaf or a twig. They walked in each other's footprints, so that no one would know how many of them had walked that way. They were on the warpath. They came to a part of the forest where 7 big trees were all chopped down, and to another part of the forest where 7 little trees were all chopped down. Then the little Indian gave a little war whoop, and the great big Indian gave a great big war whoop. And a great big woodcutter who was taking a snooze, and a very little woodcutter who was taking a snooze, jumped up and ran through the woods. Then the big Indian and his little Indian boy, and the big raccoon and the little raccoon, having chased the woodcutters away, paddled for home. Fat brown bears and buffaloes galloped away as the big Indian in his big canoe and the little Indian boy in his little canoe paddled silently by. The moon came up, and a big hoot owl hooted suddenly, but the big Indian was brave as an Indian, and so he didn't jump. And then a little screech owl screeched, and a little loon laughed suddenly, but the little Indian boy was brave as an Indian, and he didn't jump. And soon they came home to their wigwams, where they rubbed noses, and Big Bear hugged to say good night. Then the big Indian jumped into his big, warm Indian buffalo robe, and the little Indian boy jumped into his little warm buffalo robe. The great big Indian and his little Indian boy went to sleep, and the stars came out.
So that was Little Indian from 1954. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment, and have a groovy day with another video coming out real soon.